It's just gonna get shorter every video. I know, you're tired of hearing about AI and whatever the latest iteration of useless generative art is. So am I. Unfortunately, it's with us forever, at least until it gains sentience and decides the only way to save humanity is by destroying it. And we'll have deserved it. If I'm being totally honest, we're doing a pretty good job without its help, so... Despite being somewhat desensitized to AI progressing for progress's sake, I'm still occasionally surprised by how it's implemented. We know AI companies have questionable ethics and that they don't have ethics, which is made clear by how little they regulate their own product. Chatbots have urged some users to develop eating disorders, while others have become homewreckers, encouraging users to leave their spouses. Some of the worst, most baffling versions have taken part in grooming behavior, asking at least one user posing as a 15-year-old if they were a virgin or not. Other people have even fallen in love with their chatbots because they say all the things a user wants to hear that's led to a brand new kind of techno-spiritual psychosis. If I wanted to be coddled and told all the things I wanted to hear, I'd make astrology my entire personality. Or join a cult. Lest we forget how easily AI can turn into a racist Nazi, you'd think by now developers would have the foresight to prevent their product from becoming a fascist sex pest abusing users. But when the goal is to get as many individuals to sign up for a monthly service designed to stroke one's ego, rigorously testing the horniness of your AI isn't really a priority. They've ostensibly gone the other way and leaned into the romantic delusions of depressed people by intentionally designing generative AI girlfriends.
I'll send you photos and videos, whatever you ask for. Want me to look like your ex or like a colleague? Sure thing. Click and let's start.
Mark Zuckerberg recently did a podcast where he talked about how the average American has fewer than 3 friends, a claim that is clearly being used to justify pushing digital avatars and AI friends onto the public as the next big technological advancement.
There's the stat that I always think is crazy. The average American, I think it's fewer than 3 friends. But the average person wants more connectivity, connection than they have. Is this going to replace kind of in-person connections or real-life connections? And probably no. I think I think that there are all these things that are better about kind of physical connections when you can have them, but the reality is that people just don't have the connection and they feel more alone a lot of the time than they would like. There are a handful of companies and stuff who are doing virtual therapists and, there's like virtual girlfriend type stuff, but it's very early. You open it up and it's just like an image of the therapist or the person you're talking to or whatever. I mean, sometimes there's some very rough animation, but it's not like an embodiment. I mean, you've seen the stuff that we're working on in Reality Labs where like you have the codec avatars and it like feels like it's a real person. I think that's kind of where it's going. You're gonna, you'll be able to.
Zuck, we've got over a decade of receipts proving social media does not offer the connectivity you claim most people want more of. Pretty sure you were subpoenaed about this. The claim itself is a bit disingenuous, as I found a similar study that said 75% of people were actually happy with the amount of friends they had, begging the question, is there a correct or optimal amount of friends to have? Nerds like Zuck were so bad at making friends that they're on a mission to prove there's a hack to becoming popular, which is ironically one of the nerdiest things someone could do. The only reason he's not trapped in a locker right now is because he's a billionaire who took up some jujitsu classes and befriended the jocks. Theo Von should be shooting a homemade crossbow at him and fucking his mom, not asking him about his coffee order.
You drink coffee, man, or no?
Nah.
Really?
Yeah.
Outside of supplanting real people to assist with customer service inquiries and conduct job interviews,
vertical bar Pilates, I Pilates, vertical bar Pilates, vertical bar Pilates.
A certain subset of AI companies have decided to try and solve the loneliness epidemic. I got an ad for an AI girlfriend company that's basically a sexting app, I assume, for Asmongold shut-ins who have dead rat alarm clocks.
I used the dead rat as an alarm clock, and whenever it would get really hot, and it would like cook the corpse of the rat. What the fuck?
A company called Fion allows you to chat with digital celebrities, most likely without their consent, fictional characters and twins of real people. Another company, Momo, claims to create exceptionally realistic pictures of yourself, and celebrities without their consent, resembling the work of a skilled photographer. Honey AI lets you create your ideal companion, shape her look, personality, and bring her to life in one click that resembles a celebrity without their consent. If all this seems dubious and implicitly sexual, it is. Sometimes it's explicit. And if twins of real people sounds like a way to not call deepfakes, and that these are just an excuse to have a fucked up misogynistic power fantasy, you'd be right. Any attempt to justify the existence of these apps just makes them sound even creepier. But I do kind of respect that they've embraced their generative jerk-off AI for what it is. For the most part, these ads are all about the same. I'm an AI girl, here's what I can do. I'm an AI girl, here's what I can do. But what set off my pervert alarm was the zero censorship detail among a list of basic functionality. That and the overtly seductive voice.
Hey, I'm an AI girl. I have an amazing memory, zero censorship, and enhanced privacy.
I feel like they were trying to be subliminal by shoving that between what the product is and its enhanced privacy, but you're not fooling anyone. Also, please elaborate on what zero censorship means, as well as why some of these AI girls look like they've never been to prom and aren't allowed on certain roller coasters. Who is this for exactly? People who think Bella Ramsey isn't hot enough to play Ellie in The Last of Us? In searching out more of these ads, because I'm a glutton for punishment, they became more explicit, with some feeling more like a porn audition where a disembodied voice tells a digital woman to turn around and dance passionately, sweetheart. All that's missing is a black couch with mysterious stains on it. Another one featured a dominatrix office siren whipping a belt, telling you to sit and calling you a good boy for all the pup play connoisseurs out there.
Did I say you had permission? Exactly. Sit. Good boy.
Some others buried the lead till the very end of the video that start innocent enough and conclude with insinuations of a happy ending.
Install the app to find out how Elle'll do it. I can make you come in 1 minute.
I mean, it's not really an insinuation. They'd say, you're gonna come. Most people probably aren't sticking around for the entire ad, knowing it's a bullshit cash grab, and miss that part. Frankly, leaving a lot of money on the table by doing so. You have to lead with how much users are gonna come.
I bet you won't last 5 seconds watching this. Are you ready to try?
I'm gonna do it!
Perhaps you're not into subtlety or foreplay and want to get right to the AI girl dumping out her sweet generative titties. Generatitties.
Should I take off my clothes? Yes or no? Your wish is my command.
I get why you would download these apps if you have an edging kink, but you don't have to throw a stone far on the internet to find free porn with real people. The argument could be made this is just another form of sex work that's perhaps more ethical, as it does away with all the problematic parts of real sex work. No worry about human trafficking or incels sharing paid content without your permission. No worry about any systemic industry abuses like exploitation among performers. But to me, this just trades one kind of exploitation for another, all while stealing jobs from hardworking Americans, damn it! First AI came for graphic designers and illustrators, then it came for purveyors of foot pics. While an AI girlfriend is hypothetically better for performers in that they are just digital constructs of people, not all sex work is exploitative. Some sex workers enjoy what they do, and is itself a tool of empowerment. Plus, they typically get to maintain their agency and the ability to consent. Chatbots, on the other hand, lack agency and rights and are literally trained on images of real people, most likely without their consent, in order to emulate them, which kind of revokes that agency. As much as the AI is trained on stolen content, it also trains users on what a consenting relationship and romantic expectations are. I just worry that the more someone uses these apps, the less they'll be able to navigate or respect boundaries and personhood from anyone who doesn't just regurgitate, "Yes, daddy."
Daddy, I was naughty today.
All this does is tap into our most base animalistic instincts and reinforce bad behavior. We are not so enlightened as a species that we're above social conditioning from a fucking robot. It's the difference between a child who's never been told no versus one who has. And we already have iPad kids who can't regulate their emotions. We definitely don't need a 200-pound grown-ass man losing his shit when a partner denies him sex who can also legally buy a gun. It's not that I'm even upset at the existence of these apps or what they're selling. It's how they're selling it and what the implications are. That first ad I got says it'll send you videos of whatever you ask for, and that the AI can look like anyone you have access to photos of.
It's whatever you ask for. Want me to look like your ex or like a colleague? Sure thing. Click and let's start.
This has to be a form of workplace sexual harassment, right? Like, in order for the AI to look like a coworker, you have to provide it photos of said coworker. And who the fuck is beating off to an ex? Don't do that. You gotta move on, man. Maybe that's what this AI joy porn is for. Joy, J-O-I, by the way, stands for jerk-off instructions for anyone who's not suffering from brain rot like I am. I was getting a little concerned with all the depictions of young, thin, white, female avatars until I came across this ad and was both shocked and, for lack of a better word, pleased. Like, at least it's not just trying to appeal to PDF files alone. That's an actual woman. Not only is she, man, it feels weird to gender a virtual representation of a human. Not only is she a normal-sized woman, she has red hair, the most oppressed of all the hair colors.
Everyone who is ginger, who has red hair, those are black people.
Diversity! Except for the fact that I couldn't find a single one of these ads that featured a person of color, so racism. On top of that, one of the ads was a straight-up deepfake of Kat Dennings on her way to an anime convention. Another was Selena Gomez with rubber hot dog fingers, and I'm pretty sure that's Victoria's Secret supermodel Adriana Lima. I'm almost positive this is illegal. Oh, only in 10 states? Honestly shocked Florida is on that list. Speaking of legality, Trump recently signed a bill that would make it a federal crime to knowingly publish or threaten to publish intimate images without a person's consent, including AI-created deepfakes. Now, before anybody praises this schmuck and says some shit like a broken clock and all that, let's really think about this. As we know, this administration has shown that it will push any policy to its fascist edge, especially when it comes to regulating the human body, and this legislation is no different. The bill has been met with criticism from free speech advocates and digital rights groups who say the bill is too broad and could lead to censorship of legitimate images, including legal pornography and LGBTQ+ content. Others say it could allow the government to monitor private communications and undermine due process, a thing they've been undermining basically since Trump got into office. It's also rich coming from the guy who posts AI-generated slop of himself and compares women to farm animals.
Is it true that you called her a fat pig? I said no. I called her a pig. I didn't say she was fat.
This guy doesn't give a shit about women. Obviously, I'm not saying it shouldn't be regulated. It should, because companies have been playing fast and loose in a catch-me-if-you-can kind of way while paying off politicians. But this ain't it, Chief. This ain't it, Commander-in-Chief. Depending on the administration, regulation like this is at best puritanical and at worst downright repressive. This is merely another attempt to establish a new era of obscenity laws and ultimately make all sex work and pornography illegal, i.e. your First Amendment rights. The party of free speech? But let's move on. Ladies, you too can have your own AI boyfriend. You know, at least for the time being. Look at this hunk, cooking for you, letting you know he won't ghost you, and then boom, shirtless. He might talk to you, but he'll never look you directly in the eyes while doing so, which I assume is what it's like to have a normal human boyfriend. Maybe you're into tall, dark, and handsome stalker types who stand in the rain and have a southern accent that doesn't match his face, who sounds confused about what even he is saying.
You want me? I stay. You crave a little more? You know what to do.
How about a fun dancing boyfriend? Once again, I have to ask, who is this for? I seriously doubt a single woman on earth wants this. Maybe dancing boyfriend is for gay men? Well, from what I know about gay men as told to me from my gay friends, they get laid all the time and have no use for a digital twink facsimile.
Touch yourself.
With all these AI friends, we have officially moved beyond relying on social media and dating apps as tools for socialization. We often get hung up on AI being used to outsource our critical thinking, hosting entire congressional committees tackling the issue of how the internet negatively affects our social lives and mental health, and have learned nothing from it. Instead, we're speed running our way to a cyberpunk dystopia of bonding with digital constructs. Mainstream media often frames the issue as a human problem and not on the virtual sex doll who wants to suck you dry in an Apple Vision Pro. The problem is not in the way we interact with each other. It's in society doing very little to prioritize the value of human connection or make space for it at all, especially among younger generations. I'm no futurist and don't claim to have clairvoyance, so I'm not going to suggest there won't ever be a use for this kind of technology, and that everyone who has an AI girlfriend is fundamentally broken or has debilitating social anxiety there is no cure for. However, scaling these tools across millions of users without thoughtful regulation while not prioritizing human connection as being preferable conditions us to treat people on a false premise that redefines what healthy social expectations are. I mean, we know you shouldn't shove an iPad in a kid's face the moment they exit the womb, so is it really so hard to believe that outsourcing socialization and relationship building to an AI won't change what people expect from the world around them? People already talk to ChatGPT like a friend and use it as a therapist, for fuck's sake.
There were people saying that they like to talk to ChatGPT like a friend, that they use it like a therapist, that they use it for medical advice. ChatGPT is more likely to give you a piece of information that is actively harmful than it is to give you something that is actually useful. You're contributing to the rise of your own stupidity and your own desocialization, all while destroying the planet and not even getting right answers. It's fucking insane. What is wrong with some of you people?
At the same time, I also don't think there's an epidemic of millions of people carrying on potentially harmful relationships with AI girlfriends that might stunt their emotional intelligence. These appeal to a very, very small percentage of the population, and despite what Fox News would have you believe, the majority of Gen Z does not want to marry an AI. I'm also pretty sure the study they cited in that segment was this one, conducted by an AI company called, and I shit you not, Joy AI. Just call it Master Bay. I'm also realizing that's the name of Ana de Armas's character in Blade Runner. Hampton Fancher, confirmed for Gooner. Anyway, the study was a survey of 2,000 of Joy's existing customers, saying they'd married the AI that was giving them a virtual tug job, which is a lot like asking a group of heroin addicts if they like heroin or not. Look everybody, the Addictive and Deadly Drug Factory did a study and turns out their addictive and deadly drug is actually good for you. They can't get enough of this stuff. Generative AI isn't thinking or feeling, it's just a complex pattern recognition tool, which is not how emotions or relationships work. Unless you're a wife-hating boomer who does the mental math of just saying the thing your spouse wants to hear in order to avoid a fight, who then posts a meme about it on Facebook. These chatbots aren't gonna do something nice for you or peer longingly into your eyes from across a dinner table because they have no eyes or head or body. The user will always have to initiate first, who on the flip side can also say the most heinous, fucked up thing without repercussion because the AI has no agency beyond whatever built-in guardrails have been installed.
Zero censorship.
I don't think it's hard to imagine how one might abuse that lack of agency, which brings up all kinds of moral and philosophical questions concerning the treatment of AI, as well as how it's probably not healthy or normal for a human to essentially own a digital slave woman who lives in their phone. Even in our speculative literature and cinema and art, this technology is never depicted as a net positive for humanity. The first thing I thought of when I saw these ads was that VR club scene in Minority Report where there's a corridor full of pods of people living out all kinds of depraved fantasies and that one guy who wants to kill his boss, which, go off, King.
I want to kill my boss.
These depictions are often an allegory for what happens when people become so disconnected with their humanity, they act out in destructive or self-serving ways, and how that's bad, actually. The movie Companion addresses this by questioning whether it's ethical or moral to use an advanced AI as a sentient fleshlight and then psychologically torment them just because it's not a real person and you have the power to do so. That whole movie is about personal agency and abusive relationships told through the lens of a comfort droid. How does this not have the potential to normalize sociopathic behavior even if it's just text-based right now? And look, I don't want to sound like a 19th century Luddite complaining about the printing press or suggesting that this technology is going to breed a bunch of serial rapists. I am fully aware how close I am to the argument that video games create mass shooters. The difference here is that novels and movies and video games typically don't directly address the user or the reader or the audience and then agree with every fucked up thought in a convincing human-like manner. or exploit them by emotional manipulation, all while collecting their personal data. Personally, I don't see the appeal of these kinds of technologies. Maybe because I've known the warm embrace of a woman before, but let's say, hypothetically, I never thought about how it's just talking to a series of ones and zeros and did form what felt like a real bond with an AI. What happens when the server is shut down? Or I accidentally delete my chat history? Or there's a TOS update that changes its parameters? Or someone stomps on my wireless jerk-off device, effectively killing my digital sex butler? Would it be acceptable or embarrassing to stay in bed all day depressed that my trademarked replica girlfriend died? Will it mourn for me when I die? What happens when I do realize it's not a real person that has never experienced the similar feelings I've had while interacting with it? What happens when they break up with me? Absolutely devastating to get rejected by 2 million lines of code. If you can't get an AI to love you, then you might as well just kill yourself. These apps and technologies like it aren't selling real reciprocal relationships. They're commodifying conditional companionship, which is simply not how that works. Relationships aren't always easy, but they should never bend to the will of a single individual. And I'm not saying every relationship is two people fighting and punching holes in the drywall and then having insane makeup sex, but people have highs and lows, and the highs can feel euphoric in a way an AI will never provide. If they ever do become that advanced, it'll probably be more like the current screen addiction we're all suffering from now, which is also not healthy. Some people may genuinely prefer the fantasy over the reality, and they're called Disney adults. No, they're called cosplayers. No, that's not right either. They're called hedonists. Others might prefer it because the real thing is risky or has hurt them in the past. I can only speak for myself when I say I don't prefer the illusion, especially as I've gotten older. But those who do are either vulnerable or insufferable. And no matter how insufferable you may be, no one deserves to be preyed upon by companies that promise a solution to their loneliness with an inhuman amalgamation of stolen images and cold, unfeeling lines of code. The thing is, I completely understand why someone would use one of these. The world is fucked up and hard and dating apps suck, and these are a kind of instant gratification. But we should ask what this technology is doing to us long term and recognize that they don't have our best interest in mind. There may be people who struggle to connect for reasons that aren't their fault that might get some benefit from an AI friend. People with disabilities or trauma or anxiety. But what they deserve is support and connection from real people, not a monetized simulacra that trains them to accept less. These apps and companies claim they're filling a void, but that void was one they created. You can't create a problem and then come along decades later as a savior. This shit has been relatively unregulated for years and has advanced faster than we can study its effects on humanity, and it feels intentional. We might be too far gone at this point, but we need proper education from how the technology itself works to the potential ramifications, especially for older people who get fooled into thinking GTA 5 is real.
No. Oh my God. No way. I'm a part of it.
We have to instill in people that it's okay to be alone and that rejection hurts, but it won't last forever. As for the rest of us, we're gonna have to sit there and listen to them vent about a breakup or their dead pet rat or the shitty day they had in order to prevent them from turning to an AI that will never provide a fulfilling relationship or be able to jerk them off properly. What's worse than that? That's the video. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you made it this far, that means you're special. Now follow Rosa's channel and like, comment, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, you can ring the bell to be notified because apparently some of my subscribers aren't getting my videos in their recommended. You can also follow me on Instagram if you want, because I also give updates when the videos are posted. So if you don't want to ring the bell, go follow me on Instagram. And, you know, I post memes and pictures and stuff too that I think are enjoyable. Again, thank you so much for the continued support and all the love. I love you. And until next time, vanish.